Internet, and welcome back to my series of film reviews. Last time we covered Mockingjay Part 2, and now we have made it to a brand new story set in the universe of the Hunger Games, and that is none other than the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is a prequel to the Hunger Games, and it takes place during the 10th Hunger Games. This movie stars Tom Blythe as Coriolanus Snow, and Rachel Zegler as the girl tribute from District 12, Lucy Gray Baird. Rachel Zegler previously appeared as Maria in West Side Story, and she also appeared in Shazam! Fury of the Gods, and she is set to play Snow White in 2025. We also have Peter Dinklage as Dean Casca Highbottom, the creator of the Hunger Games, Viola Davis as Dr. Volumnia Gall, the head game maker of the 10th Hunger Games, Jason Schwartzman as Lucky Flickerman, the host of the 10th Hunger Games. He is the ancestor of Caesar Flickerman from the original Hunger Games saga, Hunter Schafer as Coriolanus' cousin Tigris, and Josh Andres Rivera as Sejanus Plinth, a close friend of Coriolanus, who later gets the short end of the stick towards the end of the movie. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is based on the book by Suzanne Collins, and it was published in 2020, back when everyone still had to wear masks everywhere they went. When I heard that there would be a Hunger Games prequel book, I got excited because the Hunger Games is one of my favorite young adult book series, one of my favorite book series period, next to Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings. That book later turned out to be the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And when I heard there would be a film adaptation of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I got even more excited, because that meant that the country Pan Am would finally be returning to the big screen. In this movie, Coriolanus Snow is a Hunger Games mentor, and he is assigned to the girl tribute from District 12, Lucy Gray Baird. She is a part of a traveling music group. She is an excellent singer. She even wrote The Hanging Tree, a song that was prominently used all throughout Mockingjay Part 1. Why she wrote that song in the first place, you'll have to find out when you see it or read the book. And according to a synopsis from Lionsgate, the film studio that brought the Hunger Games to life, years before he would become the tyrannical president of Pan Am, 18-year-old Coriolanus Snow is the last hope for his fading lineage, a once proud family that has fallen from grace in a post-war capital. With the 10th annual Hunger Games fast approaching, the young Snow is alarmed when he is assigned to mentor Lucy Gray Baird, the female tribute from impoverished District 12. But after Lucy Gray commands all of Pan Am's attention by defiantly singing during the reaping ceremony, Snow thinks he might be able to turn the odds in their favor. United in their instincts for showmanship and newfound political savvy, Snow and Lucy Gray's race against time to survive will ultimately reveal who is a songbird and who is a snake. So yes, this is the story of how Coriolanus Snow became the biggest dick in all of Pan Am, and how he became the tyrannical president of Pan Am during the events of the original Hunger Games saga. But I'm gonna keep this review strictly spoiler-free, unlike with the other Hunger Games movies I covered. So now that I got that long introduction out of the way, here are my thoughts on the latest prequel to the Hunger Games saga. This is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. This past summer, I've had the pleasure of reading the book. Of course, it took me a while to finish it because life got in the way and I became far too busy to read the book. And when I saw this movie, it's like the book came to life before my very eyes. The cast did great in this movie, especially Tom Blythe as Coriolanus Snow and Rachel Zegler as Lucy Gray Baird. Sure, the accent she used in the movie was distracting at times, but man can she sing. And this is coming from someone who actually saw her performance as Maria in 2021's West Side Story. She's no Natalie Wood, that's for certain, but 2021's West Side Story is actually a really good movie, but nowhere near as good as the 1961 film. But if anyone wants to see me make a video comparing the two, let me know. But yes, this is not the Hunger Games we're used to. There's actually a public arena that's not closed off by a force field that anyone who is not a tribute can enter. There are no Mario Bros. Warp pipes. There are no landmines surrounding the podiums because all the tributes are dragged into the arena by peacekeepers at once. That they're shot by peacekeepers if they either try to run or step off their spots too early. The tributes don't have trackers injected into their arms, and there are no cannons going off signaling the death of a tribute. There is no tribute parade to kick off the games. The tributes have zero training prior to the games, and instead of staying in luxury suites prior to the games, they're all bunched into one train. They have to stay in a zoo exhibit with no food. Clearly, Coriolanus Snow wasn't happy about this, and the games have changed since then. Mario Bros. Warp pipes, the mentors being past Hunger Games victors, the tribute parades, the tributes getting sufficient food before the games begin, the tributes actually training instead of being expected to just pick up a knife and have no fucking clue how to properly use it, traps set up by the game makers, an arena that can be any kind of climate, be it forest, grassland, desert, or beach, instead of the one they started using prior to these changes, and a force field to prevent the tributes from escaping, and as a way to prevent tribute suicides prior to the games. So yes, the 10th Hunger Games was a much different Hunger Games, and this is a much different Hunger Games story. This movie is split into 3 acts, kind of like how the book was split into 3 parts. The other Hunger Games movies did not do that, but each book was split into 3 parts. Here, they literally borrowed that concept from the book to make it the most faithful Hunger Games book adaptation ever. The first 2 acts revolving around the games was easily the best thing about this movie. The third act, on the other hand, not so much. The games themselves, like I said, were not the same Hunger Games from the first Hunger Games or Catching Fire. A lot has changed since the end of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and this movie is a great way to show how much things have changed in the 64-year gap between this movie and the first Hunger Games movie. The third act is where it all slows down, and it's not as exciting as it was during the beginning and the middle part. I can say the same about the book, but it was still a solid movie that I'm glad I paid the admission fee for. And I gotta say, Viola Davis had a fucking blast with her role as Dr. Gall. She was one of the most cartoonish villains on screen. She was having a fun time with her role, even more so than Amanda Waller. Amanda Waller is a straight up asshole in the DCEU, and she's so unlikable. But here, she's just having the time of her life as a Cruella de Vil wannabe who happens to be the head game maker. Not only was this a movie about the origins of Coriolanus Snow, but we also get a quick history lesson about how the Hunger Games first came to be. And I'm just gonna say this right now. If one were to do an epic Hunger Games movie marathon 10 years from now, don't start with the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Start with the Hunger Games and finish with the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And this is coming from someone who always begins every Star Wars movie marathon with the Phantom Menace. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes requires prior knowledge of the escapades of Katniss Everdeen, the Girl on Fire, because you get to see where everything comes from. The name Katniss, the origins of the Hanging Tree, Jabberjays, Mockingjays, the Hunger Games themselves, and how Coriolanus Snow became the biggest dick in all of Pan Am. The movie even ends with a voice clip from Donald Sutherland in Mockingjay Part 1. It's the things we love most that destroy us. I'm giving the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes an 8 out of 10. I still say Catching Fire is my favorite Hunger Games movie. But this is a great history lesson as to how things have changed in Pan Am in terms of the Hunger Games themselves, and how Coriolanus Snow became the biggest dick in all of Pan Am. Lucy Gray Baird is no Katniss, obviously, but Rachel Zegler did a damn good job with her performance in this film. She's quite a good singer, and I'm curious to see if she'll be singing as Snow White in 2025. I'm sure she will, but she was also a great singer in 2021's West Side Story. My favorite performances in this film were that of Tom Blythe and Viola Davis as Dr. Gall. Viola Davis was having the time of her life in this movie, and Tom Blythe made a great young Coriolanus Snow. I also really like Peter Dinklage in this movie as the condescending dean of the Academy. But if you do want to check this movie out, I recommend reading the book first. This is one of the most faithful adaptations to a book I've ever seen on screen, as well as some other minor differences that don't alter the story in any way, shape, or form. But the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is definitely worth your time, and it's a great way to revisit the world of Pan Am after the ending of Mockingjay Part 2. The movie fell flat during the third act, and it slowed down tremendously. Everything else about this movie is top notch. Stay tuned for all my other upcoming videos planned for the rest of 2023, and I will be back with another McInerney76 film review this winter when I cover the Ghostbusters movies to get ready for Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, which I will also be reviewing in this format. Until then, I'll see you all next time.